Welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. We are here in Yorkshire to catch up with a smattering of informed trainers about their fine seasons thus far. And we hear more about a wonderful initiative in aid of the Graham Lee Foundation. Here is what's coming up on this week's show.
I went down there my first year and came back with my tail between my legs, thinking, geez, I'm never going to have a Royal Ascot winner, thinking I'd gone with a proper team of horses. And this year I selected them early on, and I was made sure that we were going to be hitting the dartboard, if not the bullseye.
I don't think it was great on our hearts, was it? But, yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, we obviously miss him. He's a massive part of our life last year, and such a star for us, to be honest.
Although it was a complete freak accident on the morning of the Coventry, could just have been a blessing in disguise, and I only say that because, Ascot on those slightly backward horses can be a bit too much. It'll give him time now to really strengthen up.
A chance for jockeys to show their appreciation for stable staff. So we come up with the idea of them swapping roles, so the stable staff rode in the race and the jockeys led them up. And just chatting to a few jockeys this year, and they've just said they haven't really had chance to kind of get behind any of the fundraising that's been going on for Graham Lee, and they were keen to do something. And I said, well, why don't we do that again? And they said, yeah, great.
We've come down to Bethell Racing, a yard steeped in family history, with Father James having handed over the reins to his son a few years ago. Ed has made a flying start to his training career so far, and this season will be hoping to hang his name upon the mantelpiece of Group 1 fame once again with Star Sprinter Regional.
We just seem to be lucky. We've landed on some horses that have sort of propelled our name forward, and long may it continue.
And those horses that sort of propelled your names from the beginning were the likes of Coverdale, and you had Mosgiel as well, didn't you? And a few like that. Oviedo was another one. There have been some good ones from the very start. Yeah,
I was really lucky. I obviously took on Mosgiel from my father. He was a tremendous horse for Dad. Dad probably did a better job of training him than me. I had Fearby in my first year, and he was a listed winning 2-year-old, multiple group stakes placed 2-year-old as well. And then we did have Coverdale, and these horses were all bought inexpensively, and we've traded, and we've done, the syndicate members from Clarendon have done really well, and I'm lucky to still have Oviedo, having a horse that's rated in the hundreds. You're always going to be competing on a Saturday, and you're always going to be competing in high prize money races, which is what makes the world go round, isn't it, really? And I'm just very fortunate to have landed on horses like that, and hopefully we can keep finding them.
Other than your dad, did you have an idol that you always respected growing up at the top level? Well, that's the trainer that I want to be like when I get to that point.
Of course, there's a lot of people you look up to, and you think that they're tremendously good at what they do. And you look at Gay Waterhouse, for example, who I work for in Australia. She's someone that I do look up to. She made a big splash as a lady in probably a time when ladies weren't as influential as they are now. And she was great, and she was amazing. She came up to me after regional finished second at Royal Ascot to say well done, and then she emailed me after Mickley won at Royal Ascot, and we've forever kind of kept in touch. And obviously George Bowie will be exactly the same, and same with Hugo Palmer, and there's probably others. And so she was someone that I hugely admired, and there's a lot of different people in this country and in Europe that I admire and think that they're people that I want to try and be, but probably too many to name.
And you do have that team, including the likes of Sammy Jo Belloc, who plenty will know from her riding days. She's a part of it. Your dad's there too, so there is a lot of experience in there. Yeah,
look, we've got a lot of experience. We've got Keith, who is my assistant, who he worked for Mr. Gosden for a long time, and he's invaluable to me. He's my eyes and ears on the yard. Obviously we're in the 21st century. My wife, she does all the owner communications. You saw her doing the videos this morning, and that is important. That is the most important thing, I think, probably, to keep owners informed with everything. And trying to keep up with everybody else, because everyone's doing something different, and their marketing and their PR is fantastic, especially the guys down in the south. And we're quietly trying to build that up and improve that all the time.
It's always a thrill to be stood next to a Group 1 winning horse, and here we are alongside Regional, who's been, Ed, quite the star for you.
He has, yeah. He is the star of the show, ultimately, although he doesn't like cameras like you, Tom.
Camera doesn't like me either.
He's been brilliant. Did we ever think that we were going to achieve what we have with him since we bought him for £3.5 grand? No. He owes absolutely no one anything, and we're just very lucky to be part of this whole journey.
And he is that sort of rags to riches story, isn't he? Because, as you say, you bought him cheaply, but he's gone on to achieve so much more.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of said to the lads when we bought him, I was like, well, if it all fails, I'm sure we can find a claimer or a seller to run him in and get our money back that way. He went and duly obliged. I think he won a 30 grand or a 50 grand handicap first time out for us in September at Haydock. So his affinity with the track started from the word go. And from that day, it was just non-stop improvement. And obviously last year was a meteoric rise. And this year, he's cemented the talents, finishing second with a penalty in a Group 2, having needed the run, and then finishing second in the King's Stands was another big sort of ticket on his resume.
What were the emotions like when landing that first Group 1 last year? I imagine it must have been pretty thrilling, really. Yeah,
look, we all work incredibly hard to get to those days, and I'm in a very fortunate position, and we've had a hard time of things as a family for over the last 10 years, 12 years, and it was just a very special moment for all of us, and someone was probably looking down at us on that day.
Yeah, I think they probably were, and could easily look down on you again for other days too, because there could well be more to come with this chap. And what would it mean to you, do you think, to win a race like the July Cup, for example? Because that's next up on his agenda, isn't it?
It's the midsummer sprint target. For every big sprinter after Ascot, it's where we all want to be. It's good prize money, and yeah, of course, it would mean the world. But unfortunately, Inisherin looks like he's a formidable force. But we'll give it a go, and we'll see how we get on. But it's where we want to be, and I'm just fortunate to have a horse like Regional as a team to be able to go there with a bit of a chance, but know that Inisherin looks a bit of a monster, but we'll give him a whirl, won't we?
You started off with 19, now we're up to 75.
Yeah.
So you can just tell in numbers alone, really, how progressive it's been. I know you had to build a new barn recently to accommodate for the new horses coming in.
Yeah, look, it's been pretty good, and we are lucky. I count my lucky stars most of the time, and we want to keep building, and we want to get better horses, and we want to try and match the top table if we can. There is an ambition there to do that, but we're also aware that it's going to take time, and hopefully in years to come we might be able to do that. And we're making a fine fist of it with inexpensive horses, and hopefully in a few years' time, we might be able to get stronger and better ammunition to go to the sales with.
And in terms of ammunition, horses-wise, you've obviously got some very good ones at the moment, and first Group 1 winner last year, but this year we saw a first winner with Mickley at Royal Ascot. That must have been quite the thrill and quite the achievement from a personal point of view as well.
I thought all my luck had run out when Regional finished second in the King Charles III, and then I'd had a double that day as well, and I had a couple of other winners up in the north of England. I was like, oh well, that's my Ascot dream over for another year, and we'll keep kicking. And then Elam ran a solid race, but the ground was too fast for her. And then Mickley just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, and he's an unbelievable horse, and I wish his owners in Hong Kong all the best. He had the progressive profile, but like all of those things, the Britannia is one of the hottest races of the week, if not the year, and he put it to bed pretty quick. It's a day I'll probably never forget, and Royal Ascot's kind of our Olympics, or our World Cup, I guess. And to be able to have our winner there was tremendous, but you know, the 3 horses that went down there, they acquitted themselves well, and as Graham Cunningham mentioned, they costed a total of 45,000, the 3 of them. So it can be done. I went down there my first year and came back with my tail between my legs, thinking, geez, I'm never going to have a Royal Ascot winner, thinking I'd gone with a proper team of horses. And this year I selected them early on, and I was made sure that we were going to be hitting the dartboard, if not the bullseye.
Let's talk aspirations. I know it's always a cliche with trainers coming into the game, but you are only 30. There must be some dreams and hopes in your mind about what you want to achieve in the future.
Of course, you know, we want to keep improving the facilities. You know, that's one big thing for me. We want to improve the numbers. You know, I'd love to get to 100. I think it's a sound number, and it's a number that I can deal with and manage and still have a personal touch. We've had Group 1 glory, we've had a Royal Ascot winner, and it's just much the same. You know, we want more of it, and we've just got to keep working hard, and hopefully it'll fall our way. But under no illusions, as Sir Mark Prescott said, he had 28 years between his last Royal Ascot winner and the one this year, which is difficult. And we all know how hard it is, and he's a tremendously good trainer. So, look, hopefully we'll keep going, and you know, we can try and give the top table something to think about.
Julie Camacho and Steve Brown have enjoyed quite the time of things over the last couple of years, with Shaquille and Judicial both flying the flag here at the yard in Moulton. Now, where is their next stable star going to come from? I've come down here to find out.
It's part of life in racing, isn't it? You know, it's transitional and things move on, don't they? So you've got to keep looking forward and be positive, and let's just hope the next star's around the corner.
Yeah, and Julie, just to reflect on some of those victories from Shaquille, he was the most amazing sprinter for many reasons, but I think arguably the most remarkable aspect of his nature was the fact that in those big races he often missed the break, but in the end it didn't seem to matter too much.
He didn't make life easy for himself, did he? And I don't think it was great on our hearts, was it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, we obviously miss him. He's a massive part of our life last year, and such a star for us, to be honest.
I couldn't really believe that Judicial was still running last season. It felt like he'd been around for yonks and yonks.
Yeah, he was a grand old horse, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was amazing for us. He was our sort of the first horse that, you know, really elevated us a little bit up the ladder, you know, by giving us a belief that you could win group races and listed races, and quite regularly for him. You know, he seemed to pull a great performance or two out every year, and yeah, he was a real star horse, and it was quite the only sort of slight sadness we had is he just before he retired there, he was one of the favourites for the Beverley Bullet, which would have been lovely to win that for a second time, and he just got a little bit of an aggravation on an old splint, and because of how we are with our horses, and we're very circumspect and careful, it was decided that the best thing to do would be to retire him given his age. Mm-hmm. But he was just a great character, and a horse we'll talk long about into our retirement, I'm sure. So
can we just have a little walk down, and if you talk us through some of these?
Bronte, who've been enjoying some great success. It's been a boon recently in racing, right, with the support right around the country. But obviously, you know, the Bronte runners are quite prevalent in Yorkshire as well through a number of the trainers. And as I say, he's a horse with a good mind that's prepping pretty nicely, and we're pleased with him. We wouldn't really want to be finding out what their absolute levels of ability are at home, but we do want to obviously have a good idea so you can pass it on to your owners. And we've been pleased with his preparation. He worked this morning and worked nicely, so he's ready to go in the next fortnight, definitely. We do quite a lot of shopping at the October horse and training sales at Newmarket, which seems to be what we're famous for. I'm not sure we're famous for anything, but we seem to be more in the second-hand market than the yearling market, which is something we'd like to address in the future, but it all takes time. So we'd be, Jules and myself and the various team rounders, we get a lot of help, but we'd be looking to, for the last 2 or 3 years, looking to buy upwards of 10 or 12 horses at that sale. the October Horsing Training Sale, and you know, we've had some nice success from it. Not all stories are good ones, unfortunately, but that's what we've sort of been doing the last couple of years. But the budget's been significantly improved recently, and that helps.
The final horse I wanted to ask you about is one who isn't in this stable. He's out in the field. That is significantly. Julie, first up, obviously the Ayr Gold Cup winner last year. That must have been quite the thrill for you, particularly in the manner that you won it.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's our daughter's favourite. She rides him every day, and he's her pet, shall we say? And yeah, so we're thrilled with him. And he's been just a pleasure to have, to be honest. He's not a moment's bother. He gets his turn out every day, and he's a happy bunny. And
had the 2 starts so far this season, Steve, I thought pretty unlucky last time at Newmarket.
Yeah, he was just squeezed out, wasn't he? And it was getting interested in the Palace House, and we were thrilled with the run even to be beaten a length in a Group 3. We were pleased anyway, but you just did walk away and wonder what might have been. You know, on the day it just got a little tight, and unfortunately he was the meat and the sandwich, wasn't he? So yeah, I know we've great respect for Carl and his family, and Carl recommended the horse to us. He just wanted a change of scene, and we saw what he did for Carl at 2 and 3, and thankfully he's come back towards that level of form. So yeah, hopefully we can be competitive in the top class handicaps, possibly enlisted and group races towards the end of the year. You know, he does like soft ground, so we're not in a rush at this moment in time.
Yeah, and if you get that cut on the ground, Julie, perhaps the Flying 5 could be a potential aim for his, because you know, it's not the strongest Group 1 in the world most of the time. That is.
Yeah, it's probably the easier of the Group 1 races, sprints, you know, and hopefully that's, you know, he's good enough to head that way. Now, whether he's good enough to win would be a, you know, if the ground came up bottomless, then maybe he'd have a better chance.
Karl Burke has enjoyed quite the last couple of seasons, and this campaign has been no different. He is reaching new heights and ended Royal Ascot with 2 winners, including this fine 2-year-old shareholder in the Norfolk Stakes. The horse currently enjoying a nice bite of hay. I've come down to the trainer to find out more about potential targets for his string of stable stars through both the summer and the autumn. Karl, start by talking about Fallen Angel. What a star she's been for you so far. First of all, how is she?
Fallen Angel, great form now. Obviously we've had a setback with her, but she's well on her way to being over that. She's actually ridden out for the first time this morning. It was just a bit of bone bruising, which can occur with just a training injury, really, just an accumulation of compact and hitting the ground. So in hindsight, we were very disappointed that we didn't go to Ascot, but in hindsight, I think the ground would have been plenty quick enough for her. So the idea is now to give her a proper, steady month of training and build her up then for something like the Matron in September.
Okay. And just on what she's done so far this season, it was brilliant, I think, for everyone to see her come back to her best after perhaps not performing quite to that point at Newmarket, but of course at the Curragh she was what we know and love.
We thought we had her in good shape going to the English Guineas, and she did disappoint. There's no getting away from it, but she just wasn't good enough on the day, I think. She bounced out of that really well, mentally as much as physically. And as you saw at the Curragh, she was pretty electric.
Okay, looking forward to seeing her later in the season. Let's reflect on Royal Ascot. A cracking week for you and the 2-year-olds. Start with Shareholder in the Norfolk, a really impressive performance.
Yeah, he's a very good horse. I'd say he's got a huge engine, as James Doyle has said a couple of times, and you know, everything's been a bit of a rush for him, and it was tough to do that. May 11th, I think he was bored at Arcana, and then less than sort of 5 weeks later to go and win a Royal Ascot race is a big achievement, really, I think, and all credit to the horse to be able to take that.
Yeah, I was going to say, not only is it the ability with him, but also the temperament as well.
Yeah, and a lot of breeze-up horses, as we know, can come out a little bit jazzed up, and you have to take time to bring them back down and then start training them again. But his temperament allowed us to sort of move him forward as quick as we could.
Would something like the Malcolm be on the agenda for him?
I think it's more likely the Mornay.
Okay.
Mornay next step up to the 6. And I do think he will stay 6, and certainly we'll sort of train him that way now, and we've got a good bit of time, you know, good 5 or 6 weeks to do that. But equally, the Breeders' Cup over 5 at Del Mar is high on the agenda as well. After the Mornay, we'll know a lot more whether we go straight to the Breeders' Cup or whether we can try another 6 furlong race. So exciting times for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, a winner for Wathnan Racing, as was Leah Vanny in the Queen Mary. Also a pretty taking winner visually.
Yeah, she's a lovely filly. Again, if anything, a better temperament, more relaxed than the Colt shareholder. Very straightforward. She was clockwork first time out, as James put it, at Nottingham, and same again at Royal Ascot. She took everything in her stride, come out of it in great form. She will probably go to the Lowther. I don't think there's anything in between there then and now. And again, if we get it wrong and she doesn't stay the 6th, which again I think she will, we can revise the rest of the season around after that.
One horse we didn't see at Royal Ascot was quite short in the market for the Coventry was Andersight. I think everyone was pretty taken by his victory at York on debut, so it was disappointing not to see him.
Yeah, he's a very talented horse, but very much a horse for the future. You know, he's a big frame still to fill, and although it was a complete freak accident on the morning of the Coventry, could just have been a blessing in disguise. And I only say that because, you know, Ascot on those slightly backward horses can be a bit too much. It'll give him time now to really strengthen up. The July meeting in Newmarket will come too soon, so I think we'll be aiming for Goodwood.
Since lockdown, a wonderful recent charitable innovation has come to fruition, with stable staff getting involved in a race at Thirsk racecourse. In the past, this has been run in aid of racing welfare, but now it is run in aid of the Graham Lee Foundation. And the brainchild behind this excellent and wonderful charity innovation is Adele Mulrennan, who joins me now. Adele, just talk us through this. I know it's your idea and you're behind it, really.
Well, do you know, Tom, we did it a few years ago before lockdown, and it was a great success, and it was a chance for jockeys to show their appreciation for stable staff. So we come up with the idea of them swapping roles, so the stable staff rode in the race and the jockeys led them up, and it was such a huge hit. The jockeys got behind it. Honestly, on the race day itself, I thought the jockeys would just lead their horse up and then obviously run back into the weighing room and get themselves ready for the first race, but they didn't. They went straight down to the track. They cheered their horse home right by the winning line, led the winner and the placed horses back into the winning connection. So they really got behind it, and it was great fun. Then lockdown hit, and we never really got a chance to do it again. And that year we raised funds for racing welfare, but just chatting to a few jockeys this year, and they've just said they haven't really had chance to kind of get behind any of the fundraising that's been going on for Graham Lee, and they were keen to do something. And I said, well, why don't we do that again? And they said, yeah, great. So instead of raising money for racing welfare, we've decided to raise funds for the Injured Jockeys Fund, Graham Lee's fund. So yeah, so we're looking forward to having it back.
And just in terms of the kind of attribute you need really to get involved in a charity race that perhaps you wouldn't have ridden in a race before, it does take a fair amount of bottle, doesn't it?
Oh, massively. I like to ride out, and even, you know, I don't kind of ride out for the winter, but when I come in the summer, I feel like I've just lost all my strength and everything. I don't think people realise how much it takes just to even ride out the horses at home, never mind in an actual race itself. So it takes a lot. So I honestly take my hat off to all the riders. I've obviously been there and done that, and yeah, it's not easy at all. So we're going to do a little bit of some fitness routines as well. We're going to go to Jackberry House, and hopefully Danny Hay's going to put some of the riders through the paces, and I'll join them as well. So it's going to be fun as well.
Yeah.
We want them to bring as many friends and family as possible, and really kind of enjoy it and enjoy the day.
Yeah, big time. And I assume it's an innovation that Thirsk Racecourse have really got behind.
Yeah, so in the first year we did it, they absolutely loved the idea and massively got behind all the riders, and basically if they want anyone they want to bring racing to support them that day, they're more than welcome. And it's the same again this year, and James Sanderson, who is in charge of Thirsk Racecourse, he's going to top up the funding to kind of get it up to a good level. So fingers crossed, like I said, we'll raise a few pounds, and Thirsk have really got behind it. It'd be nice just to have a bit of sunshine. Hopefully the Yorkshire weather's going to be kind to us. Louise Wolfrey is one of the riders taking part in the Graham Lee charity race at Thirsk. Louise, can you tell us a little bit more as to why you decided to take part in it?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do, really. The young ones usually are the ones to get asked and get the opportunity, and then when Carl asked me, I jumped at the opportunity, really, because it might be my last chance.
Your last chance. How come it's taken so long for you to want to ride? Has the opportunity just never came up before?
No, it's just never really come up before. I don't think anybody from I rode out for Mark Johnston for a long time, for about 16 years. And I don't remember anybody doing it there at the time. And then since I've been here, I suppose they probably think I'm quite happy to take a back seat.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and and your experiences in racing. 'Cause I know
racing.
you've been involved
Yes,
for a
well,
long time.
Yeah, I worked overseas for a long time in racing. I started off working with sports horses and ended up in New Zealand and got offered a job breaking in and pre-training over there. So I worked in New Zealand and Australia doing that, and then in Japan as well. And then I came back here and had my children and rode out for Mark Johnston and then came here.
Do you know which horse you're going to ride yet?
Tellyredd,
Okay.
hopefully.
Is he a good ride?
He's a very good rider and he's very experienced, so that should be good. And John and Julie, his owners, had given permission for me to ride him, so that's lovely.
Here at Brian Ellison's, I've been joined by Jack Cross, who's taking part in the charity race, and I'm sure you're very excited, as clearly as this man could be your partner, Freddie Robinson, in the race itself.
Yeah, hopefully he can show us proud on the track or something, and I know him inside and out. I rode him when he was a 2-year-old. Named after Brian's grandson and that, Freddie, assistant trainer Jessica.
And have Brian and Jessica been big supports for you on the way to this journey?
Oh yeah, there's massive supports. It's a great team. Everyone behind the scenes and that. Everyone helps each other out. No messing about.
And you might have Ben Robinson leading you up. Yes, that's right. It's quite fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be different for him because he wouldn't have done it for a long time. But
Yeah, the kind of roles reversed there, isn't it, really?
yeah,
And what would
he'll be laughing at me, but I laugh at him sometimes, so
I'm sure we won't be
both
laughing.
laugh at each other.
Yeah, exactly. What would it mean to win?
I'm not bothered. I'm not thinking about winning
Yeah.
because I just want to take part and just have a good feel of it and have a spin round. But if he wins, fair enough. But he's capable of winning. I know he ain't got the best racing marks on the flat, but he won last time out at Beverley.
We've seen in recent years that there have been a few of these stable staff races take place, and I think they're a very good idea to give stable staff a little something back. But when you can tie that in with a huge fundraising effort, it just seems like a no-brainer, and hopefully they can all raise as much money as possible.
And the man riding from the John Sean Quinn stable here is Johnny Greaves, nicknamed Johnny Velasquez, I hear.
Nicknamed Johnny Velasquez, yeah. Johnny likes to ride short, often gets plenty of rollickings off Dad for riding too short. I remember Dad, when he first started, Dad said, there was only ever one Leicester Piggott, Johnny. You remember that one Leicester Piggott? We couldn't call him Leicester Piggott, so anyway, Johnny Velasquez stuck. He's a good hard worker. Johnny started off with Dad when he was a kid, then spent time elsewhere, and he's been back with us for a couple of years now. He lives in the house at Highfield in this yard. So as I said, nice to be able to give something back to stable staff, and hopefully then they can raise as much money as possible with all of our help for this charity.
Jason mentioned it, Jason Hart. He pushed Sean to ask for me, and Sean came up to me and he said, would you like to do it? And it'd be a pleasure to do it. Obviously it's a good cause for Graham Lee. It is, after he had the bad accident and that. So yeah, I won't go turn the offer down.
How is their fundraising going?
Oh, it's going all right, I'm getting there.
Good, nice
It
to
is.
hear that. And I hear Jason Hart may well be leading you up. Have you given him any advice on how to lead up? Are you swapping advice?
Oh, we are here and there, but no, he'll be all right. He knows what he's doing, he's good round horses, so.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Johnny, a little bit about your background in racing. How long have you been working here at
I actually first worked here in 2006 for John Quinn. I was here for a couple of years. And then unfortunately I lost Mum and Dad, both within 4 months of each other. Come out of racing, just couldn't be around the horses all the time. Then 5 years later, I couldn't stay away. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
My mum and dad used to race point to point. My sister raced point to point, still in the 50s over in Northern Ireland. So yeah, it's just in my blood, it is.
I can tell you've got a real love for the horses.
Oh yeah, they're man's best friend. They say a dog's man's best friend, but nah, horses are for me.
And if the general public wanted to get involved and donate, how might they do that?
So each rider's got their own Just Giving page, and then we have an overall one. It's all on the social media platforms for Thirsk Racecourse and for the Injured Jockeys Fund as well. So if anyone would like to donate, it'd be massively appreciated. If there's any particular rider they want to support, even more so. And there'll also hopefully be maybe a bucket collection as well on the day. So if anyone's going to come racing or wants to come racing, we look forward to seeing them then.
Thank you for watching the latest episode of This Racing Life here in the wonderful surroundings of Yorkshire. It's time to close the door on this week's episode. See you again in 7 days' time.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.